We all have things we want to do in our lives, but we just don't do it because life kind of gets in the way. Everything has a deadline, whether it's things for work, a project, or the birthday, or the payment we have to make. All these things have a deadline. Only our own goals and passions and wishes do not. So we tend to put that off and push that to the side and think, well, I can do that tomorrow, I can do that next week, I can do that next year. And before you know it, it's kind of too late. You either don't have the time anymore, you don't have the physical strength to do those things, and before you know it, it gets buried. This is what Ben Nemptins calls the buried life. So he and his friends went out and did all the things that they wanted to do in an attempt to unbury those things that tend to get buried by all the other things in life. And that's how their bucket list started. There's a study has been done where people on their deathbed have been questioned what they regret. And what they found out was people don't regret the things that they did, they mostly regret the things that they didn't do. Most people regretted living a life up to other people's standards, what other people wanted for them, but not really a life that they wanted for themselves. So ask yourself, what would you regret at the end of your life? Ask yourself what is important to you, and in the process, forget the other people, forget what other people think, what expectations they have of you, what they hope that you achieve. Just focus on what you want and what you value in life. Now, when we think of bucket lists, we think of those cliche bucket lists where it's all about adventure and cliff jumping and road tripping. And while those are legitimate things to put on your bucket list, that is not all. Life isn't always only about adventure. Maybe those type of adventure things aren't for you, and that's totally fine. Life has so many more aspects to it. There are relationships and spirituality and career, and there's just so many facets of life that we need to consider them all when we want to create our bucket list. Ben Nemptins says there are no rules when it comes to your bucket list. As long as it's important to you, then write it down. And that's the second point that Ben makes. You're supposed to write your goals and your bucket list down, because once you write it down, it no longer is this dream of yours in your mind. It actually becomes a project in progress. It also doesn't mean that once you write it down, it's set in stone. You can always go back and change things, add things. I like to view it as a kind of never-ending, ongoing list that you can add to. Lastly, Ben Nemptins says it's important to share your bucket list. Now, when he and his friends went out and tried to accomplish their things on their bucket list, a lot of people actually reached out and said they heard about their trip and their bucket list and they really want to help them. For example, there were people that said they happen to have a bull that they can ride for their bull riding bucket list activity, and then in turn, Ben and his friends kind of helped that guy achieve one of his bucket list things. So it was really a community of people helping each other to cross off their life goals and dreams and to help them work off something off their bucket list. Now, Ben's message really resonated with me and it really inspired me to think about my bucket list. What would I put on it? I've never really written anything like this, and I was really intrigued as to what I would actually put down. So when I sat down and thought about what I would put on my bucket list, things that came up that I would regret at the end of my life if I didn't do were actually luckily things that I had already done. I would say I had a very blessed and privileged childhood, and my parents enabled me to experience a lot of different types of things. So a lot of the things that I really want to do, I've already done, and I'm very grateful and happy for that and very thankful. But there are still some things that I want to do, I haven't done, and I think I would regret if I didn't do these things before I die. Now, this is only a first draft of my bucket list, but I still want to share it with you guys. Ben says we're supposed to share our bucket list, and who knows, maybe we can help each other out. So here it goes. First thing on my bucket list is to have a vegetable garden. This might be something really weird for some of you, but I just imagine it to be really happy and magical to have your own vegetable garden with a bunch of different crops and fruits and vegetables that you can harvest and eat. I just feel like there's probably this really big sense of satisfaction and accomplishment when you actually eat your own harvested, grown food. So that would be something that I would really enjoy, to have my own vegetable garden, which I can live off of. Then number 2 would be to take a cruise. Now, I have taken a cruise before, but it was a 3-day river cruise, and what I would love to do is to do a ocean cruise, maybe for a bit longer, maybe a week or so, and then be able to hop on and off of the boat and visit different cities and islands and do a bunch of fun activities. I think that would be really fun. Then number 3 is to start a successful company. I would really love to start my own company, have it be successful in the sense that I can live off of the earnings of the company. For me personally, it doesn't need to be a wildly successful company where I'm making a lot of money. I just want to be able to live off of it and have fun with it. Then number 4 is to make a big charitable impact. And this I want to do either by giving through a already established charity or maybe starting my own charity. I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter. The main thing is that I really want to give back and impact those that could need the help in a big way. Then number 5 would be to be a mom. I think that would be something that can be very fulfilling. Sometimes I see small children that are extremely naughty and loud, and then I tend to second guess whether I want children, but personally, I think it is probably a very fulfilling and beautiful experience to go through. Then number 6 would be to renovate a house, a small house, a fixer-upper, something that is very broken and old. It's probably going to be a very stressful and tough process, but I think once it's done, it's very fulfilling and really cool to see what you've built out of your own creativity or your own hands, however much you want to, or I want to be involved in it. And yeah, I think that's something that could really be my pride and joy once I manage renovating, fixing up a house. Then next, I would really love to take a longer road trip, maybe for a month or so. I've done a month-long, I think it was a month-long road trip with my parents when I was little, but I'd love to do it kind of as an adult where I'm in charge and I get to pick where to go. I'm not just a child sleeping in the back seat. And I don't know where. I'm pretty open to where that road trip will be. Then next, something I'd really love to do and I dream about probably daily is to host fun dinner parties. For some reason, I imagine that being so much fun. Of course, there's a lot of work going into the cooking and the planning, but I think that would be something that I would find really fulfilling. I can't wait to host my first dinner party, and hopefully that will be a success. People will have fun. And yeah, I'm always planning fake pretend dinner parties in my head, what I would cook, what I would serve, if there would be a theme or not. Yeah, that is something I definitely want to do at least once in my life. Then the next thing I would love to do is to attend some type of cooking class abroad, but it has to be a really authentic cooking class, either making noodles from scratch in Japan or creating some type of dish somewhere in the countryside in Italy, or just learning from experienced people with traditional recipes and traditional methods and just learning about the history. Yeah, I think that would be so much fun. The next thing on my bucket list would be to marry the love of my life. Then the next thing I would love to do is to rent a beautiful, traditional, old Tuscany villa, and just for a weekend or so. I don't know, there's just something really beautiful and romantic about staying in a countryside Tuscany villa. Yeah, something I also dream about regularly. The next thing on my bucket list would be to sell a piece of art that I made. Whether that is something I drew, something I embroidered, or something I sculpted, I don't know. But I think it would be something really fulfilling to be able to sell something that I made, a piece of art. It doesn't have to be for a big amount or anything. The next thing I'd imagine be really fulfilling for me is to have some type of stall at a farmer's market where I can sell food that I make. I'm not sure what kind of food I would sell, but I imagine it being very fulfilling and satisfying to sell something to people that they really love and enjoy and I can have confidence in. And I love food, so I'd love to do that surrounding food. So yeah, hopefully maybe someday you'll see me at a farmer's market stall. Next thing I really want to do before I die, and hopefully in the near future, is to publish a cookbook where I curate all the amazing, delicious, traditional recipes that my mom makes. My mom is an amazing cook, and I really want to hold on to those recipes forever, pass them down to hopefully my children, and publish it so her delicious, amazing recipes can be shared with a lot of other people. And that is something that I've actually already kind of put into motion. It's still in the very beginning stages, but that's definitely something I'm already working on. The next thing I really want to do before I die is decorate a cake. And not just any decoration or any cake, I really want to decorate a extremely beautiful cake, maybe beforehand to take a class on baking cakes or decorating cakes, how to work the icing, how to pipe those beautiful icing flowers. I'd really love to know how to do that, and then I want to decorate this really beautiful cake that is more a piece of art than cake. Well, of course I'm going to eat it, but I think that is something I always see other people do, and I imagine being very fulfilling. So I definitely want to do that and try that at least once. And then last but not least, something I'd really love to do is to start a family tradition. I'm not sure what that's going to be yet. I don't know, but I imagine it being really wholesome and sweet to have a family tradition that I started, then hopefully maybe passed down generations. And yeah, I don't know, maybe that is a small way they would then be able to remember their great-great-great-grandmother. So that was my bucket list, at least so far. Now, some of these things on that list really scare me, like traveling to a foreign continent or starting a business. These are all things that really scare me, but when things scare me or you, I think that's a good thing. That means you're going out of your comfort zone, and when you're out of your comfort zone, you're then more likely to grow and evolve as a person. So it's good to write down things that scare you on your bucket list. Now that I've shared what I'd love to do before I die, I really want to encourage you to get out a pen and piece of paper and write down your guys' bucket list. I know that these things tend to be things that we push along further and further back, but we never know how long we're going to live. We might live until we're 80, but we also might live until we're 30. We just truly don't know. And if you talk to people who have had a near-death experience, they usually always say that that experience completely changed everything. It changed their priorities. And hopefully you don't need to experience a near-death experience for you to realize that. So what would you regret on your deathbed if you did not do it in your life? Write that down and make sure to share your list. You can either write it down in the comments below, share it with your friends and family if it's a little too personal for you. And yeah, I'd love to hear your guys' list, and maybe we can try to help each other out. Maybe we can also become a community of trying to fulfill each other's wishes and dreams. Hopefully this video inspired you to really think of what is important to you, what you really want to achieve in your life, and to remember that we don't know how long we're going to live. We should make the most of the time that we have, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, then be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more. I do a bunch of fun videos on self-help, minimalism, mental and physical health, recipes. Be sure to check out my channel down below for more fun things. And if you further want to support me, you can of course do so on Patreon. The link for that will be down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.